Devin Nunes memo, February 2nd, 2018. 12 days before V-Day massacre. Insurance policy. So he redacted in this. This memorandum provides members as an update to significant facts relating to the committee's ongoing investigation into the Department of Justice and FBI, Federal Bureau of Investigation, and their use of Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act, FISA, during the 2016 presidential election. Our findings, which are detailed below, raise concerns with the legitimacy and legality of certain DOJ and FBI interactions with the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Court FISC, and to represent a troubling breakdown of legal processes established to protect the American people from the abuses related to the FISA process. On October 21st, 2016, DOJ and FBI sought and received a FISA probable cause order not under Title V, not under Title 7, authorizing electronic surveillance on Carter Page from the FISC. Page is a U.S. citizen who served as a volunteer advisor to the Trump presidential campaign. Consistent with the requirements under FISA, the application had to be first certified by the Director or Deputy Director of FBI. It then required the approval of the Attorney General, Deputy Attorney General, DAG, and Senator confirmed Assistant Attorney General for National Security Intelligence. So October 21st, 2016, right? Devin Nunes says October 21st. So this is from Lisa Page and Peter Strzok text messages when they went to meet with Christopher Steele for dossier. October 16, 2016. Hey, just thinking, do you have a current official passport? I do need to find it, but I think it's so good. Remind me on Monday. And if we go to London, I'm going to have to call. And Rebecca just called, needs calling back. Can you let me know what he's talking about? Hi, done talk. This is on October 16, 2016. The times. 16:23, 17:45, 18:23, 18:24, 18:25, 18:33. This was all done on Sunday. Again, on October 21st, 2016, DOJ and FBI sought and received a probable cause order not under Title 7, authorizing electronic surveillance on Carter Page from FISC. Page is a U.S. citizen who served as a volunteer advisor to the Trump presidential campaign. Consistent with requirements under FISA, the application had to be first certified by Deputy Director of FBI, James Comey. It is required approval of Attorney General Rod Rosenstein, Deputy Attorney General DAG Sally Yates, and the Senate confirmed Assistant Attorney General for National Security Division Donna Bonatti. The FBI and DOJ obtained the one initial FISA warrant targeting Carter Page and 3 FISA renewals from FISC, as required by statute 50 U.S.C. 1805 D1. A FISA order on an American citizen must be renewed by FISC every 90 days, and each renewal requires a separate finding of probable cause. Then Director James Comey signed 3 FISA applications on behalf of the FBI. Deputy Director Andrew McCabe signed 1. Then DAJ Sally Yates and Donna Bonatti and Rod Rosenstein each signed 1 more FISA application on behalf of DOJ. And this is from the Michael Iskoff article on September 25th, 2016. You can find it on Yahoo. Due to the sensitive nature of the foreign intelligence activity, FISA submissions, including renewals before the FISC, are classified. As such, for the public's confidence and integrity of the FISA process depends on a court's ability to hold the government to the higher standard. The court's ability to hold the government to the higher standard. I'm going to tell you this. Research pays off. Since Comey's... Okay, right here. Judge Rudolph Contreras, who signed the warrants. Okay. And it looks as though Strzok, who may have signed the warrant application to the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Court, FISA Court, was a close friend of Judge Rudolph Contreras, who signed the warrants. Do your research, you'll get more information. This is from Liars, Leakers, and Liberals. Judge Janine Brooke. The case against the anti-Trump conspiracy. In 2018.
In this edition of the Red and Blue Political Roundup, President Trump Monday ordered a number of documents and text messages related to the Russia investigation to be declassified. CBS News Washington correspondent Paula Reed has the latest.
The president has ordered the declassification of several documents and text messages related to the Russia investigation. Today, he ordered the declassification of portions of a FISA warrant that was used to conduct surveillance on Carter Page. Now, the president and his allies have argued that that surveillance was not properly supported by any evidence of possible misdoing by Mr. Page. They have argued that this was politically motivated. However, there are concerns that by declassifying this FISA application, the president and his allies could be trying to undermine what is a very important tool for law enforcement. There are concerns that by declassifying this information, you put at risk sources and methods and may dissuade other people from coming forward and helping law enforcement conduct this kind of surveillance. Now, the other items that the president has ordered declassified include text messages from several of the key players in the Russia investigation, including former FBI Director James Comey, as well as Peter Strzok and Lisa Page, two officials who worked on the Russia investigation, as well as Secretary Clinton's email investigation, but have come under scrutiny for comments that they have made about the president and his supporters. In fact, the Office of Inspector General at the Justice Department has criticized both of them for showing a possible political bias in this probe. So why?
A year ago.
The top Democrat in the House, Nancy Pelosi, is responding tonight, saying, quote, "The president is potentially risking the lives of our patriots by compromising sources and methods. Also, he can advance falsehoods and false narratives that distract from the truth of the Trump-Russia scandal." So reaction now from the other side. Let's bring in Republican Congressman from New York, Peter King, who sits on the House Intelligence Committee. Congressman, great to have you with us. I'll start by asking you to respond to your colleague, Nancy Pelosi.
She's entirely wrong. There's going to be no sources or methods being disclosed here. What will be disclosed is the American people will find out that there was no basis for these FISA warrants, that the important information was kept from the court. There's going to be a disproportionate influence of the dossier. Also, you're going to find out that people like Carter Page based an investigation of him when no one would seriously think that he was any kind of an agent of the Russians. Basically, you have a counterterrorism tool. A tool that's used to protect us from terrorists is instead being used, that's the FISA court, is being used to spy on an American campaign, a presidential campaign, unprecedented in our history.
I want to recap for folks so they know exactly what the White House, what the president has asked for tonight: declassified or release these things. Portions of the Carter Page FISA application, FBI reports of the interviews that they had with Bruce Orr, FBI reports of interviews in connection with the Page FISA applications, and also the president says they want all these unredacted text release regarding the Russia investigation. He named several people: Comey, McCabe, Page, Strzok, Orr. What do you think we will learn from these things?
I think you're going to find out that if there was any collusion, it was involving the FBI and Fusion GPS. The fact is that there was an attempt to bring down President Trump before he was elected during his campaign and also afterwards. Now, whether or not this was concerted, whether it was intentional collusion, or there's just a meeting of the minds of people who wanted to stop Donald Trump. But the reality is you're going to see that there's such a commingling here. You have Bruce Orr, you have his wife, Bruce Orr is in the Justice Department, his wife is with Fusion GPS, involved with Christopher Steele. I mean, all of this going on. There's such a contradiction here, and it goes against the whole spirit of the FISA court. I mean, FISA court is almost sacred in that the government has an obligation to disclose as much as they can to the FISA court. There's no one else in the court who opposes this. So they have an obligation when they're laying out their case, asking for this unprecedented power, this really unique power to be, in effect, spying on Americans, that they have to lay everything out for the court. They did not do that here. I can't go into all the details, but when these FISA applications are made public, as I've seen them, all the American people are going to see is that important facts were not disclosed to the court, including the basis of the dossier, how unsubstantiated it was, how unreliable Christopher Steele turned out to be. All of this we brought out, and how anyone who could base an investigation around Carter Page to say that he was some kind of a Russian agent is, again, a total distortion of the FISA court.
And Congressman, I want to quickly ask you about a story we reported on Friday about Evelyn Rodriguez. She has been honored at the State of the Union by President Trump.
It's to detract from potential bombshells from Mueller's future testimony and likely from all those subpoena fights with Democrats that eventually will produce something. President giving his attorney general these sweeping powers, by the way, to revisit the Russia investigation is the same president who just 2 days ago told Democrats he would block everything because they were, yes, revisiting the Russia investigation. Yeah, I know, hypocrisy in Washington knows no end.
Relenting opposition. During the first 3 years of his administration, the president's been able to accomplish so much. And in my area of law enforcement, for example, since he came into office, we've been able to push down violent crime. We've expanded enforcement against firearms with Project Guardian, and I'm announcing a crackdown on violent crime in a number of cities that he directed me to do once the impeachment process started and the ability to come to some compromise on a violent crime bill fell apart. He directed me to do whatever we can without that legislation. So we're moving forward.
With regard to why you're here in Detroit, you wrote a piece this week that talked about the lack of respect for police officers in the United States is something that you're very concerned about. And you said, when we show our respect and appreciation for our police, it says more about our love of liberty and justice than perhaps any other act. What do you think has been fueling the anti-cop feeling in some parts of the United States?
It's a mystery to me because when you stop and think about it, we rely so much on our police to keep us safe, and we learned the lesson after Vietnam that our heroes who fight in our wars to protect us deserve our respect, and at least we now show them the respect they're due. But when you stop and think about it, the police are doing that also, and they have the toughest job in the United States. There's no job.
Do you agree with Mr. Horowitz that the dossier was central and essential to the Carter Page FISA warrant application being approved?
I agree that it was important. I can't tell you whether it was essential, and by that I mean that it wouldn't have been granted without the Steele information.
Let's go through the application. There are two parts to the application. Was there an effort to get a warrant approved without using the dossier?
Yes, my understanding is in the summer they asked DOJ whether they would support moving forward on a warrant application.
And they said no, right?
Correct. That's my understanding from the Horowitz report.
Then you add the dossier, all of a sudden they say yes to the warrant application. Is that a fair statement?
I think it's fair to say that DOJ decided to move forward after the Steele information was part of it.
Yes, so I would say that it was essential based on that. Now, here's what I'd like to ask. The contacts between Mr. Page and alleged Russian operatives are one part of the application. Is that correct?
That's my recollection.
Okay. Did Mr. Page deny knowing people that you accuse him of having contact with?
I don't remember. I think the Horowitz report says that in the fall of 2016, speaking to an FBI source, he denied knowing certain people, but that's about all I recall.
Well, here's the facts. He denied knowing these people, and the FBI is yet to find any evidence that he was lying. The people that he did have contact with, did he tell the FBI that he was working for the CIA and that's why he had contacts with these people?
I don't remember that.
Do you now agree that the CIA confirmed that Mr. Page was in fact helping them?
I know from the Horowitz report that the CIA confirmed he was what they call a contact.
So the FBI in August of 2016 had information from the CIA informing the FBI that in fact Mr. Page was a resource. Did you not know that?
I did not know of the nature of his relationship with the CIA. I'm telling you what I read in the Horowitz report.
Do you think it would have been fair?
I disagree a little bit with Chairman Graham, where he said he's very pleased with the production out of the FBI. I am not. Let me just give you one example. Here's a document we got from the General Services Administration. You can see that it's an email, and everything's presented except for the very bottom. They've redacted the mobile phone number of the person writing the email. Here's the exact same email we got from the FBI. You see something different here? Everything is redacted. And that we supposed to get thousands of pages from our. I could finally subpoena the FBI. They are on their second extension. Everything is due by, I think, the 30th of September, and that's the kind of information we get. It's non-information. We have to fight over redacting the same documents that we get from other agencies. So I am not happy at all with the document production we've gotten out of Director Wray and the FBI. Not even close.
You know what? I'm really glad you put up those documents, because this is something that I have heard from day one for 3+ years. When Ratcliffe was in Congress, Nunes in Congress, yourself in the Senate, you've been demanding documents to ensure that you understood what took place, and they will not get you the documents. They sit on documents and make it incredibly hard for you to prove the point that you know is true, and that is that it was a sham investigation into President Trump, and there's a ton of wrongdoing here. Do you think you're going to get the documents? I mean, is this Christopher Wray? Why is Christopher Wray still in charge of the FBI when he is overseeing these agents sitting on things?
His job should be to restore the credibility and integrity of the FBI, and the only way you do that is through exposure. But the other point I have to make, Maria, when we finally do get these classified sections redacted or unredacted, when they become declassified, you look at what information you have, and you have to ask yourself the question, what national security interest was at stake here? Why was this ever redacted? The answer is almost always because it embarrassed the agency or it embarrassed a powerful person. That is not the reason to classify information. It's certainly not the reason to keep the truth from the American public. And that's all I've been trying to do, is I've been trying to reveal the truth. Another important point to make. Yes. I've been accused of peddling Russian disinformation. There is no Russian disinformation in our 87-page report. The press report on it, and I'm calling on the press. You were duped. You were leaked false information. You should not protect those sources that leak you false information. It should be your journalistic duty to basically tell the American people who provided you false information that resulted in this 2 or 3 year national nightmare because of the false narratives that you carried the Democrats' water on.
Do your job, media.
Trump, every time he does press conferences, he keeps mentioning October surprise. Well, President Trump tweeted, I have fully authorized the total declassification of any and all documents pertaining to the single greatest political crime in American history, the Russia hoax. Likewise, the Hillary Clinton email scandal. No redactions. When all the documents are finally fully declassified and all the redactions removed from reports, the nation will see the FBI and CIA, not only the Russia collusion allegations against Trump were a political dirty trick, but they were in on the trick. Obama, Biden, the list goes on and on and on. It's the biggest scandal in history. Rob Mueller was in on it too.
This is massive breaking news. The president just tweeted this out, quote, I have now fully authorized the total declassification of any and all documents pertaining to the single greatest political crime in American history. In other words, the Russia hoax, and likewise the Hillary Clinton email scandal. No redactions. This is a big deal, and by the way, should lead to troves of declassified material. Again, without the redactions, we'll have a lot more of this coming up. You'll see how sinister all of this was from the get-go, and it should shock the conscience of our nation.